The light force of your bond, a power like life itself, unseen for generations, a dyad in the force.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of DYAD in the Force, episode 283. Yes.
I'm a member of the DYAD squadron.
Hello.
Thank you for the continued support, Kenny. I did plan to start the podcast after that Sprox Zarathustra theme. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Kenny, Spider Guy, Marianne, Phidias, McCormick, X-Core, who is lurking at the moment. Yes. The title of this podcast or episode is highly clickbaity.
Yes.
First and foremost, how's it going, Choco?
It is going well. I mean, yeah, just doing our thing. There's not a whole ton going on in Star Wars world, but anyone who says that I've just seen a lot of people complain that gaming isn't what it was or isn't what it should be, and
a certain
like
crowd.
It's good.
Yeah.
it's better than it's ever been, honestly.
Let's see. Just name a few off the top of our heads. Stellar Blade. We have Baldur's Gate 3. We have now I'm forgetting that Helldivers 2. Gaming is so healthy right now, but you'll see a lot of videos saying why gaming has lost its creative edge or whatever.
And it hasn't. You did.
Not.
You just outgrew it, you know. And by the way, I've gone through a lot of periods where like I try to play any game and it just doesn't feel the same, and I'm like just not into it, and that's okay. Sometimes, you know, maybe you need to get a different hobby or do something else, but like, I don't know.
Spider Guy says it's after 5. Where are they? 1 star. I mean, everybody seems to be responding to what we're saying. So I don't know, Spider Guy. Maybe you have the wrong stream up in the right chat. Which is an odd.
Yes, Spider Guy. Refresh your browser or something, because we are currently here.
I do have to go live on Twitch though, but that's okay.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't
No,
know.
but they're not. They're on YouTube. Also, lasses, and non-binary pals, I bought the PS5 Slim about an hour ago. Okay.
Nice.
Where's that PC, though? I call BS. There's a lot to talk about in Star Wars. Andor Season 2 is on its way. Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to. Talking about Andor, we could always like just speculate on what it's going to be, talk about our favorite moments. Those conversations are always going to be there. I'm mostly lamenting that we no longer have a weekly show that we're trying to unpack every single week. You know, but yeah, obviously we are super stoked for the next season of Andor.
Absolutely. So some news, either in the Star Wars universe or even in just in general. I am like, I'd say half a chapter away from completing Alphabet Squadron, which has been an endeavor.
I've been begging him to do it for like 3 years now.
Perhaps we'll hold a podcast episode about the trilogy. If anybody else has read the book and is interested in talking about it. I know Choco.
Profit. Con Super Chat 2.42 credits. Andor Season 2 fuels the whistle.
Oh, text-to-speech is back, finally. As Khan said, Rahala Lapandor Season 2 for all. Sawiz Googlu. Thanks for the ramen drop, Connor.
Suiz Googaloo for all.
Suze Googaloo. That's like the name of the next character for the next book.
I kind of like that. Sue's Googaloo.
There's so much in gaming that is fantastic. Tears of the Kingdom, Ys series, Xenoblade series, new Dragon Quests. I have a huge backlog. It's great. Phineas, it sounds like you're a huge fan of JRPGs, and that is awesome. I am eagerly awaiting the remaster for Suikoden, which is one of my favorite JRPGs from the 90s. And I can't wait to see it. I've seen the trailer. Everything looks crisp. The sprite art is just magical. But yeah. Hobbit game coming. Avowed coming. AC Shadows.
I'm so excited for Avowed. I think that's going to be a fantastic game. And that's dropping in like 2 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks. Avowed is going to be like a new age Obsidian Skyrim.
Yeah. That's why I'm rewatching. Started this week, Andor Season 1. I have not watched it since it dropped. It was so good, and a rewatch is not really needed, but I'm up for a challenge. Wait. Do you view rewatches as a challenge, Kenny? JRPGs have been my jam since FF6. Oh, well, are you talking about FF6 or FF3? It's a trick question. They're both the same. I'm being delusional as they're my two favorite shows, but I want to see Omega in Andor Season 2 or just a Bad Batch member unless I'm getting time periods messed up. No, Omega can show up, or at least, okay, chronologically speaking, Omega can be in Andor Season 2. I don't know if narratively she should or will.
Yeah, I don't see how it would benefit anything. Like I don't know. It's a no for me. But I won't be mad at more Omega ever. So it's.
Suikoden is so underrated. Is an underrated series. Yeah, I know. More people need to play it. And if I'm gonna sell people on it, it's basically like you're a really, really great JRPG with great JRPG fundamentals, but it also has large scale battles, wars that at the time or with today's tech doesn't seem like a huge or a big deal, but back then it was great. And the whole system of recruiting 108 stars of destiny, which is basically 108 main characters, and you can build your comp around all 108 people and just kind of test the waters with all of these different characters. They're all stars of destiny, so they're all important to the story and they all have their own story. But like building your castle, seeing the narrative show you how your army is growing and how all 108 of them have an influence in terms of mustering your troops and what they bring to the table. But also you can beat the game with like any number of permutations of 6 party members built out of those 108.
Okay. Yeah, so that means that it would also have like crazy amounts of replay value. So
absolutely,
that's cool.
Because you could beat the game and not recruit all of them.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like Easter eggs, there's a lot of like quest sequences that you have to do and decisions you have to make for someone to be available. There's a number of members that are only available during the first act, so if like you progress the game, they're gone. It's a great game. I consider it a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger, because that was also kind of like the start of building your party out of all of these recruits that bring different things to the table.
Yeah. Let's see here. Choco, any recommendations for when I get my PS5, apart from the obvious Spider-Man 2? Yeah, I mean, honestly, all of the Spider-Man games are very good, and you should definitely play them. And so if you are going to play all of them, I recommend playing them all in release order, because there are continuing mechanics that get released that build on each other. So you're going to enjoy, and it's the same universe and a continued story. I cried like a child playing the first Spider-Man game at a certain point. It's a fantastic narrative that truly sucks you in. Final Fantasy 16 is a great game. You can jump into the Horizon series, Horizon Forbidden West. Those have come to PC now, but a game of the year this year is it's a fun platformer, Astrobot, that you can jump into. The Final Fantasy, Rebirth games come directly to PlayStation first, as well as, did I say Final Fantasy 16 already? I know that did come to PC recently, but that's a very good game.
Yeah, I still need to play that.
Anything in the Uncharted series, there's a lot of good stuff. I haven't played it yet, but Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart. Oh, yeah. And Returnal. I've been seeing people stream Returnal, and it looks like a lot of fun. It's like a 3D platforming bullet hell style game that looks crazy. Oh my goodness! What? Rise of the Ronin. I've been playing that game. It shocked me how much fun that game is, and how underrated it is. No one talks about it because some of it doesn't look as beautiful as some other modern games, but the gameplay mechanics and the length of the game and the story and the people that you really deal with in that game, and how you affect the building of Japan. It is really cool because it's expansionary era Japan over a period of time.
Speaking of old games that we need to get into, did you ever get a chance to try that one game that you were super excited to try out by Square, that it starred the actress from Charlie's Angels? I forget her name, but it was like a summoning, or not a summon, like a magic game.
Yes, and that game is actually on Game Pass if you want to play.
Oh, okay.
If I'm thinking of the same one, it's like a spooky thing. You're investigating. You end up with psychometry power, not psychometry, but telekinetic powers, and you have a gun. And
no, isn't that Control?
Yeah.
No, the game I'm talking about. Hold on. Let me look up the actress so that I know who I'm talking about. It had Ella Balinska.
I'm not remembering it offhand.
Forspoken.
Oh, Forspoken. I have it. I actually didn't play it. It got really bad reviews, but from what I understand, it was just a game that was under polished, but still a lot of fun. And I'm still planning on playing it.
For some reason these days, I have a hard time trusting any game review that is negative. Simply because I don't know where their biases are. But a lot of games are just negatively reviewed nowadays because of the anti-fans. It just because it's a female protagonist.
Yeah, I mean, X-Core says the demo was pretty terrible. But I've seen that. From what I've seen, it looks like the story is nothing special. But the gameplay is fun with some weird mechanics.
Yeah, I'll have to play it myself, just like every other game.
well, I mean, my thing is, if a game is, I feel like where we are in gaming is, if it's not a 9 or 10 out of 10, then
Oh yeah.
it's trash for when it comes to reviews. But like, you can enjoy a solid 8. You can enjoy a 7.5.
I can enjoy
you
a
know?
5
but,
or 6.
Yeah, and that it goes person to person. But there is a certain thing where, you know, normally if it's a female protagonist or a person of color as a protagonist, it'll get more negative reviews just for that reason. And so you always have to take those with a grain of salt. That's why there's only very few people that I actually go to for game reviews. I don't look at random people's reviews because that tells me nothing.
Yeah, we've all lost the plot when it comes to number ranking or number grading games. I remember back in the day when I used to read GamePro. There were so many of my favorite games were 6s and 7s, right? And it's like people are looking for 10s, and that's why if it's not their cup of tea, it's like the games nowadays have lost their creativity, and it's just like, no, there's other games that you're not playing, like Enshrouded.
Yeah, I mean, so we're just really dominated by the AAA, by the large companies' marketing, and so that's where everyone's, you know, if you are a journalist trying to make money, then you make money in covering those things. I know places like IGN will get crap because they give all these positive reviews, and then you're like, of course they give positive reviews, and it's not because they're paid to, it's because they're not one person. So if you have a team of people and one person on your team loves JRPGs, another person on your team loves first-person shooters, the other person loves action RPGs. When a new action RPG comes out, they're going to give it to the action RPG person. You know, a shooter is going to go to that person. And so they'll give out more positive reviews because the people who are reviewing them are typically inclined towards liking them. That's why you have to find someone that has your tastes and follow that person.
Yeah, it's kind of like just reviewing it in context, because like somebody who doesn't know like the idiosyncrasies of JRPGs reviewing a JRPG would probably point out a lot of tropes that JRPG fans would already be familiar with.
Yeah.
Phineas says my cartridge says FF3, but I know it's lies. Yeah, so in Japan it's FF3 and in US it's FF6.
South of Midnight looks amazing. Yes. Yeah. Who was it? Good friend of the channel. It was both Chase and Malik are really excited for that one. So I'm definitely going to jump into that or try to when it comes out, depending on what's going on. But I feel like y'all didn't join specifically for video game talk. Real quick,
they join for anything really.
Well, that's true.
I do want to address Kenny saying I can't wait for everyone to play Hunters when it drops later this week. I will be trying it. You know, I mean, I just couldn't play it on mobile.
So I'm gonna try it. I don't know where my Switch is. Straight up, just don't know where it is. And I'm not gonna play a game on my phone. I don't like that. So I'll try it, but it has the issue of being a hero shooter at the same time as Marvel Rivals existing. So I'm gonna have a lot of trouble jumping into that, and at the same level. But who knows? You know, I might really enjoy it. Like, from what I played of it, I don't know. So before it came out, like 2 years before it came out, we all got to play it.
Yeah.
It really got hamstrung by its release being pushed back so far.
And also, I don't really play on mobile platforms, and I don't have a Switch. But I'm interested in trying Hunters. I know Kenny loves it. I know Dave Xanatos likes it. So like, I'm always down to try it. You know, especially.
I read the book.
PC.
The Hunter's book is fun because it's like It follows the character of Reeve. You'll know them as like the dark side person with the red lightsaber. And essentially the story of Hunters is it's like wrestling, but in Star Wars. So all of those people who are fighting, like those are all their stage personas, and they go and they just battle each other all the time. And it's just Star Wars wrestling.
Yeah.
Hunter should have been released on everything at its initial launch. Absolutely. Matt Boy says, yeah, when they give a game to someone who doesn't follow or like that genre, they're going to be less favorable and possibly unfair. Exactly. But at the same time, you know, like there's two schools of thought, you know, like I played a lot of Destiny 2. And so when Aztecross plays a game, and I followed him for Destiny 2 content, I'll watch his reviews on games. He and I don't have the same taste on games, but I can learn something from him. Just because he hates a game doesn't mean I'll like it, or it doesn't mean I'll hate it. And just because he likes it doesn't mean I'll like it. But like, you've getting to know that person's persona, so you can kind of have an idea.
I know his persona as another week, boys, another twab.
Yeah, I just maintain he's adult. What's his name? Sid from Jimmy Neutron. Adult.
Jimmy Neutron adult.
He looks and sounds just like the one character on Jimmy Neutron. He's just an adult.
Well, in terms of like the Marvel Rivals kind of storm that's happening, like there's still a need and a desire for variety. And we spoke to X-Core about this, and our good friend Malik just over the last couple of days about needing to poke a certain part of the brain. And Enshrouded has been a huge breath of fresh air amidst the Marvel Rivals chaos, because no, I'm not gonna stop playing Rivals. It hasn't like lost its luster to me, but this current game that's in front of me is scratching an itch that Rivals can't scratch, you know.
And doing a hell of a job with it. It's a lot of fun, especially. So the game is, you know, it's billed as a survival kind of a fantasy RPG type of game. Here's the thing: I hate survival games.
I
hate them,
but for the building aspect, which is what I love about Enshrouded. Which is why I've missed a lot of quests, because I'm just at the base building.
It's fun because, you know, so Element and I are playing together on the same server, and my favorite thing is dungeons and exploration. But I will say today I got lost in building. I don't know if you've so I while exploring I found a place, because in this game you can both just build your own, you know, home or whatever you want, but you can also find homes that already exist in the wild and move in and fix them up and make changes and all this stuff. So I found a base that looks like the area. It looks like you're on Tatooine. Actually, it looks like you're on Tashara. But it's like an underground layer that kind of looks like a homestead, like the Lara's homestead in A New Hope.
I'll share a photo of it. Keep going.
So we built our whole our homestead there, and the mechanic that has surprised me the most, because I'm not really a cozy gamer, or I never have been.
What did Malik say? It was DYAD Cottagecore.
Yeah, he said it was DYAD Cottagecore because I'm in the courtyard farming, and he's decorating the base. It was just, you know, and we just spent hours doing it. It was a lot of fun.
So here's a photo of the base right now. Just a kind of a view of it from the top. It is like a Lars Homestead type of inbuilt sand igloo, as it were. But I didn't even realize I had lost connection to the server. But
No, that just happened because I just realized it was still running, but I can't just reconnect. I accidentally closed it.
But yeah, it's that kind of stuff that just kind of, you know, scratches a certain part of the scratches an itch in your certain part of your brain that you just need. And Marvel Rivals kind of handles that kind of action shooter, like arena battle type of itch. And I absolutely enjoy Rivals, but I also enjoy building. Like when Choco showed me that space, I was like, let's do it. And then I arrived and it was so messy. I was like, I'm going to clean everything up and fix everything. And that's what I spent like 3 hours doing. You know? We had this greenhouse that was just decrepit, right? And it looks fabulous now. Gotta add 2 crispy skeletons outside. Oh, possibly, yeah.
Should.
From the top, make it drop. That's some. Come on, Connor.
Also to add, yeah. So some people added, Connor, that you should definitely play, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghosts of Tsushima. My mouth is dry.
So is Enshrouded kind of similar to Valheim? Yes. It is a survival game like Valheim. What's interesting about Enshrouded is its class system and how it integrates your need to craft and build into your need to explore and fight. And it's a really, really great cycle. Because you'll need like a tanning station, right? And so you'll need to go find the tanning station. And who has the tanning station? A boss. And you just fight a boss. So there's a lot of like motivation to go out there and explore, and there's a lot of motivation to go out there and kill enemies, I mean. For legal reasons. I'll add this to my notes. Cheers, people. Looks kind of like New World. Yeah, I mean, in the sense that it's a third-person adventure, like
it don't play like New World. I'll tell you that.
I like New World too.
New World is fun. It has its thing, but it's nowhere. Yeah.
What New World is missing is I have a house in New World, and I just walk in and hang things. What New World would need to scratch that part of my itch is the ability for me to build my own house.
And also just the way that this game allows you to either snap things to a grid or not is amazing. You know what I mean? Like you can say, I don't want this to line up perfectly, and just put it wherever you want. And I don't know.
It's still grid. It's still grid, but the grid snapping is on a 1 meter. It's a 1 meter grid snap. When you turn off snapping, it takes it to subdivisions of 1 meter.
I mean, by that definition, that's true of everything in life, too. But yeah.
But yeah, like the building is so fun that like you can do Minecraft style and go strictly to block by block, 1 meter blocks, or even a quarter of a meter block. Or you can build massive walls and ceilings and stairs. Like it has a lot of prefabs and it has a lot of freedom to just let you do it block by block however you want. So you killed the tanner to take over his operation? No, the tanning station was stolen by a very bad person that wasn't a tanner.
But you also recruit people and they live in wherever your place is. And so and by that, you eventually need to make bigger and bigger places and stuff like that. But yeah.
Do you plan on doing a hair growth challenge for Andor like you did for Bad Batch? That wasn't really a hair growth challenge. That was just me trying to mimic Omega's hairstyle. And subsequently led to me having the perfect hair for the stranger. I just gotta wet it and just shake my head and go, you really didn't know it was me? I can see you with Andor hair. I mean, it's all the same, really. The whole kind of 70-30 part.
Ooh, but I did want to ask a question because, and it's something that Connor asked earlier. Well, a couple of things. So, Pep, we're probably going to do a full episode or at least a separate video on it. But given that you are at the very, very tail end of Alphabet Squadron,
Yes.
how do you feel about the series overall? Are you happy that I pressured you into reading it? Was it worth it?
Just like with all books in Star Wars, I enjoy them to a certain extent. Leading up to what I am at now, which is half a chapter away from finishing Victory's Price, I absolutely enjoyed this entire story. And it really did come down to the resolution from Victory's Price, because a lot of how the book reads is just unfinished business, which I took issue with. Although I really like his character work, Alexander Freed's character work with the Alphabet Squadron and even Shadowing or the 204. It's gotten really cerebral.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I did it. I mean, I'm not a person, especially in the Star Wars space. You guys know me. I'm not a person to just not read a book. But this one had been missed for so long that it just kept on getting on the back burner, because Choco had been telling me to read Alphabet Squadron since before the High Republic. And when the High Republic came out, I was like, nope, I'm on the High Republic, so I can't really go back to read this. And then, Star Wars books kept on coming out. Padawan, Brotherhood, Shadow of the Sith. They just kept on going, and I couldn't really go back and do kind of like a retrospect on books that I had missed. But I'm glad I read it, because it is a fantastic story. I have issues with book 1 and book 2, particularly with all of the non-resolution stuff, but like as it pertains to how everything turned out, I have a lot of questions. but also
it also does a really good job of building on the greater narrative that we get from just other stuff as well. You know what I mean?
It builds on on the commentary we get from Andor season 1.
Yeah. Definitely builds on that, but also if you played Battlefront 2, and you got to be in the Battle of Jakku, and so what's going on in the main battle while you're there. You know what I mean? You get to, because you hear Hera and you're like, where is she? Oh, this is what she's doing. And I know there's a lot that I just very much enjoy in this book. Specifically the character of Chasna Chaddock, who is a Jyn Erso fangirl.
Emily, as we say. Emily Stardust.
Exactly. And how her love for that character affects her on the day, and I was saying that it feels like Alexander Freed was like a wartime technician or a med person, because he's not the greatest when it comes to the action, but it feels like he actually speaks to a lot of soldiers. And this is the first Star Wars book where you have someone who has a ton of survivor's guilt and what that goes into, what that means. All these people are just survivors of different types of thing. And this is very true of his first Star Wars book that I read, which was Battlefront Twilight Company. He did this. He did the novelization for Rogue One. And as Connor brought up, at the end of next month, we're getting Reign of the Empire, which is going to be a new trilogy written by him.
Nice.
And I feel like that's going to go directly into Andor. There's definitely going to be some connections. So,
you know what
excited.
this series has made me more excited for? That's one question. Second question is, who do you think my favorite character is? Third question is something that I can't ask here for spoilers. But this, I really want a Rogue Squadron movie now.
Oh my God, yes. So me and Jay's been talking about this, one of the other great things that happens in this story is we spend time with the bad guys.
Yes.
And you get to really realize that, like, no, in war, it all sucks for everyone. And the people on that side are feeling the same way that the soldiers on this side are feeling. In how that kind of manifests. It's just really good. You also get a lot more context on, you remember Battlefront 2 and the Robo Palpatines in Red? We get a lot more information on that and what was going on. We get some insight into the Sith Eternal. It does a lot.
Kind of reminds me of Lost Stars.
Yeah.
As well with the characterization. But who do you think is my favorite character?
Major Soren Keys.
Close, but no. It's Will Lark.
That was going to be my second one. Yeah. Will Lark is just like, I just want to go fast and go fly around and have fun with my friends.
Yeah. So he's the goodest boy,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Soren Keys is high up there. I just passed a part with him and Erica Quell in the last chapter, and that kind of solidified it. But I also, not to like put a damper on your fanboy, but like Chaz isn't quite up there, though. I do think she's a fiery sprite, Thelan, queen of starships and fizzy drinks. But so my top characters is Will Lark, Soren Keys, and Kairos. But
Kairos was cool too.
But I have questions that I'll ask you later. What about the Aftermath series? I have them, but have not read them.
So the Aftermath series by Chuck Wendig is a mixed bag. I can tell you straight up that I hated the first book. The first book was the first thing I read in canon, and I'm a massive Legends fan. I read that and I gave up on reading Star Wars. So take it with my thoughts on it with a grain of salt. I literally, because that book came out around the same time as Lost Stars, which I think is one of the best books. But I was like, I had to choose between the two to like try this new canon thing, and I was like, that one's a YA, so nah, we don't read those, because I'm a man, and real men don't read YA. I was an idiot. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
but
yeah, I just didn't like it.
There's a lot of good information in there, though.
There's a lot of good information, and the idiosyncrasies, he toned them down a lot for the second and third book. So the second and third books read like normal books again. The first one is just really bizarrely written.
One of the best Star Wars books is Bloodline, in my opinion. Yes?
Absolutely.
It's up there. I actually don't know what my favorite book is now. Now, in the High Republic, it's Fallen Star, but if you ask me what my favorite canon book is overall, it's tough now. Because I think Victory's Price ranks up there.
Yeah.
it would, there's Bloodline, there's Lost Stars, there's Victory's Price, there's Glass Abyss. Here's the greatest problem we have as Star Wars fans. We're still getting books, right? So it really just shifts the ranking every single cycle.
Well, and then here's the other question. Glass Abyss actually isn't really up there for me, but like, it's a singular book. Now, how do I compare that against Victory's Price, which is the culmination of 2 books? Or, Victory's Price doesn't stand on its own. You have to read the other 2 to get to it. Does that lower it? I don't know.
It depends on. It comes down to personal preference and how you do rank books. For me, it doesn't matter if it's part of a larger story or if it's a single isolated narrative. It's just kind of how it makes me feel in the moment, which is why Lost Stars and Bloodline is still up there. However, the Queen's trilogy is the most beautiful trilogy ever. Yeah, especially if you speak to Spooky Kitty. What else? We'll talk about Gosling in a second, but
we'll talk about Revan soon. Okay.
Yeah. The Queen's trilogy. I kind of feel like the Queen's trilogy, with the exception of Shadows, Queen's Shadow, is like an aftermath for me. A lot of good information, not something that I'm a huge fan of.
I really enjoyed them, but there are a lot of like anecdotes that really shined, but like not the whole thing. But that's just kind of the way those stories were written, where they aren't writing about. And actually, this is what I've been telling people when recommending those books. If you're expecting, the book is about the girl's journey. Right? Like, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't about, destroying the Death Star. This isn't about going on a mission. This isn't about, being in a war and surviving. This is just about their journey. And it goes through ups and downs. And there's not... It's hard to explain.
It's not
but
there's not a big
need
conflict.
Yeah, and if that's what you need in a book, then you probably won't enjoy it. But if you want to see like the weird journey of like girls who are learning how to double each other and how to hide their things and how to practice the same voice, and then trying to trick the guards by like having them pretend to be, it's just super funny. I mean, there's one moment where what's his name? Basically, she tries to swap and gets caught doing it, and it's just a really funny moment. I don't know, they're fun books, and Sabe's awesome. I think we need to bring Keira Knightley back into the Star Wars universe as Sabe.
Yes. I agree. KG says, must have pics of Natalie Portman in it if Spooky Kitty likes it that much. I don't really know if Spooky Kitty has read them or likes them, but they do have pictures of Padme on the covers. Khan says, I've met Captain Panaka.
That's awesome. Oh, the actor? Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
No, it just makes me sad because
Cool
there's
story,
another
bro.
because there's the other Claudia Gray book that's about Leia when she's young. Captain Panaka is in that too.
That's Princess. No, that's Princess Leia.
Yeah, Leia, Princess of Alderaan.
Answer my Maz question. Jeez. I have another question. When do you think we will see Maz Kanata again? I think we will see her in the Rey movie. We see her in the High Republic.
Yeah, what's funny is Maz could literally show up in any project or in every project. She's actually one character who I wouldn't mind having seen in Skeleton Crew.
That's true.
Here's
I feel
my
like
vote
Kim was like the stand-in.
I want Maz Kanata to be like our introduction to Talon Card.
Where's James Kenobi? How's it going, Master James? There needs to be a trilogy of books from Padme's point of view.
That's what they are. what do you mean? Hey.
Hello there.
Thanks for the follow. Terrar. Alright, so Maz Kanata is the real Sith Lord? No. The real Sith Lord
is the friends we made along the way.
Ryan Gosling. So the Hollywood Reporter broke a new story, and it's corroborated by the Variety and Bloodline. What is that publication called? Is it
Deadline?
Deadline.
Wait, I can't.
Ryan Gosling has signed on to do a Star Wars project in connection with Sean Levy of Deadpool and Wolverine fame recently. And Master James Kenobi thinks that it's Talon freaking Card. I don't know. Oh, I thought I said it was I thought it was Terrar. It's Terrorist Boom 1. How's it going, Terrorist Boom 1? Welcome to the show. Who do you think Ryan Gosling, or let's start at the beginning. What do you think this movie is? Because in an interview with Sean Levy, he says that I didn't want to write a movie that was, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not verbatim. He didn't want to write a movie that was tied down by existing lore, where he couldn't do anything with the characters, and it had to also tie into a larger narrative. So now we have that hint. It's hopefully not gonna be in the Skywalker saga, because then there's a lot of tied down lore there. We have Mangold's biblical epic, Dawn of the Jedi. So where do you think Sean Levy lands in terms of a movie? And then who do you think Gosling plays in that movie?
So Sean Levy is about the Chad life. You know what I mean? I after Deadpool and Wolverine, I feel like that tells me that he would likely be doing an Old Republic, something in the Old Republic, because it feels like he's into fan candy, you know. And so if he did that, then, and by the way, by what he said there, I think that kind of rules out him being Revan, because that's like tied down by existing story by definition.
You guys know that was a clickbait title.
Yeah. However, we can do something in the Old Republic. So you remember James Mangold's what he's doing is going to be 25,000 years in the past. That's a long ass time in the past. The Old Republic is 3,000 years before the original trilogy. So like there's a massive gap. So this, he could do something Old Republic. It'll be the first thing in the timeline that's relevant to the stories. He can play around in that sandbox. You can have Ryan Gosling be, I don't know, he has smuggler energy to me.
So what you're saying is an Old Republic movie featuring Nico Okar.
Yeah, he could be that type of character. Nico, I'm just saying, like, first of all, Ryan Gosling's number one ability is to smolder. So he needs to play someone who can live in that smolder. So to that means it to me at least that he's not playing a Jedi.
Some Jedi can smolder.
Okay,
Come on.
They can smolder.
Do you remember,
Basically, I
May
want
saying
him to.
this party's over? He smolders after.
I picture him getting the girls, and while the Jedi are not precluded from that, they can still slay the Sarlacc, if you will, but they do it weird. They do it wrong. I need to see him as a smuggler with a where he flies them around or something.
Ewan smolders. Another happy landing. He smolders a lot more in the show.
He only smolders when he looks at Dexter Jetster.
My old friend. Slay the Sarlacc is not a nice image. It's a dysphemism for sure. A movie in the other galaxy, Blue Eagle Gamer says. What other galaxy? The Peridea galaxy?
Yeah, I could be in Peridea. Slay the Sarlacc, stop. Listen.
This is Choco's job.
What if I... All right. Stab the Wookiee. I don't know.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the... All right. You kind of gave in. You're just like, fine, I draw phallic images, and I also do a lot of dysphemisms on acts of promiscuous nature.
Bunk the gunk. I don't know. Anyways,
I just got here. What about Ryan Gosling? So THR reports that he's been signed on to join the Star Wars universe in connection or attached to Sean Levy, who's been developing this movie for 2 years now.
So the question we have for you guys is, who would you want to see him be, or what role? I still think he's going to be playing someone entirely new, but what type of archetype of character would you want or see someone like Ryan Gosling play?
Matt Boyd says, if Revan were to show up, they need to be true to the original intent of the KOTOR games and have them be vaguely seen or referred to with little to no personal lore so that anything could be true. Me and Choco are of the same mind here, which is kind of in agreement with that concept. Like, I don't think that they should do Revan. I do believe that for a long time they should do it like Darth Plagueis. Like, if they ever do an Old Republic movie, they would talk about where did that battle take place? The Mass Shadow Generator. Was that?
Sorry, my brain was like Pandem 9. No, that's not it.
I was thinking of thinking about Malachor. But where was that? Anyways,
Malachor 5. Yeah, that's what it was. You're right. You're right.
In the same vein that they do, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? Like, if they do an Old Republic project, I would love it for a mention, just so that he's more than just in canon in a visual dictionary, but more in canon in name by virtue of narrative, right? So then, what can I hear crinkling? I'm opening up a Nutter Buddy. But let's say there's like a Jedi that's training, much like in the High Republic, they're talking about Serval the Uncanny and all of these old Jedi, Talboda and stuff. There's just a couple of Jedi training in an Old Republic TV show or a movie, and they're commenting on someone that's training, and he's like, wow, his form kind of reminds me of Revan's. And then someone's like, who's that? He's like, oh, it's like an old Jedi, thousands of years ago. They're still holocrons of his, lightsaber instruction. They're lost or something like that. Just a mention.
Yeah. Hot take. Most of the things that are cool about Revan, you find out second hand in Knights of the Old Republic 2, and you don't see or play them in Knights of the Old Republic. And so it'll be the same. But that's why they need to avoid doing Revan like the plague, because he's become a legend. And what we've learned in Star Wars is that people like the legend of these characters, but they don't like them as people. They don't want the day-to-day of the person with flaws and stuff like that. They want the legend.
Question to you. In terms of everything we learn about Revan in KOTOR 1, is that secondhand?
I mean, yeah, most of the stuff you hear is like, oh, that guy Revan? Oh, Revan is me? Oh, so I did that. Cool.
I was just trying to play around with like, but you are playing as Revan and you're hearing this stuff.
Yeah, even then, you still have no knowledge of him. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm enjoying the pirate smuggler style era of Star Wars we're in. We can stay off the Jedi for a bit. Let's see some Force users. No! Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed the Alphabet Squadron books, but I'm still a Force guy. I'm still a Force lore Jedi person, you know? I'm going to enjoy Andor Season 2. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of Ahsoka Season 2, but like, those stories to me are the core of Star Wars for me.
So I think that if we are doing a film, this is a movie, this needs to shoot down the straight and narrow. You know what I mean? Like we're not telling any side stories, or shouldn't with this. This needs to be the bread and butter more than anything else. So I do think that the nature of this should be about Jedi Sith conflict, and he could play a pivotal role in the team, that does that or whatever. But yeah,
the grizzly pilot that is escorting a Jedi investigative team to what is known then as Korriban. Could be fun. Connor says
Korriban, more like Moraban.
Connor says Choco, I'll donate 10 Great British Pound if you shave your beard but keep your stash. 20 quid, and you do an Obi-Wan goatee.
Obi-Wan goatee, does that mean I have to shave it off and then have like a terrible patchwork one that I glue on from time to time? Sometimes his fake beard is too much for me in that second movie.
Can't see Gosling as Revan? Oh no, KG. This is that's just a clickbait title. No, there's nothing to suggest that Ryan Gosling is Revan, or playing anyone for that matter. That he's just signed on, attached to Sean Levy's movie. The thing that I'm more interested in is finding out what movie Sean Levy is developing, more than anything, because once we have that information, then we'll have narrowed down candidates for how Gosling is involved in the project.
All right. Here's what I want to do. Using a handful of Ryan Gosling's of Sean Levy's more popular films. I want to make a cast. So we're calling Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling, and
Wesley Snipes.
No. So it sounds like I'm just doing Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'm honestly not. He's actually worked separately with Ryan Reynolds a few times, and separately with Wolverine a few times. Right, because he did Real Steel, right? He did The Atom Project. He did
Free
Guy, yeah.
Night at the Museum. Let's get Ben Stiller in this.
Yeah, Ben Stiller and Rami Malek, because he's in there as well.
All right, so you have your cast. Who are they? And what's the story? Who would you cast Sheamus from WWE in Star Wars? Part of the Kunja Club?
Don't forget my husband, Owen Wilson. Can we get some Hank Azaria in Star Wars? I would love that, actually. I love Hank Azaria.
He could be anybody, really.
It freaked me out when I first saw, like, how freaking buff that dude was.
Gosling will be Night Swan. Nice.
Because the first... Yeah. He's one of the most versatile actors in Hollywood. Yeah, because for a long time, I just knew him from Simpsons. And then way back in the day, I saw the movie Along Came Polly. And he was just ripped like, what the hell? What is happening? Is that?
I have to say, Connor, anybody... Okay, I have another question just to add on top of that. Because I feel like anybody from the WWE would just have to be bounty hunters or mercenaries. But to that end, if you do watch WWE, if you know any of the wrestlers or superstars, who is the most likely candidate to play either a Jedi or a Sith and have the temerity to actually own that role?
I mean, I kind of want to see a CM Punk as a
DYAD
Jedi.
moment, bro. CM Punk is in it. He's in it for sure.
Absolutely. You know what? I mean,
Cody Rhodes as a Jedi? I mean, yeah, it could work. He's like, he's the baby face.
Mark Henry as a Hutt.
The Rock, it doesn't matter what your code says. Listen, I'm a fan of Dwayne, but I don't think he would do well in Star Wars. Full stop. Just, it's, you know, he's a better person for Gallows 12.
Tell me, guys, you wouldn't want to hear Owen Wilson go, we need to go into hyperspace now. Wow.
Wait, who's opposite Owen Wilson in this scene?
Jackie Chan.
We have nowhere to go. We need to go into hyperspace now. Wow, hyperspace whale thing, so cool. And then like Nicolas Cage comes in and he's like, your focus determines your reality. Gang gang. No, Dwayne is not that kind of actor. Absolutely not.
Owen Wilson with Chewbacca instead of voices. Wow. Wow.
Wow. It's just that.
Listen,
back and
I
forth.
would.
The movie's called Wow.
I'd punch the hell out of that. Nick Cage's Rail Avaros. Yeah, I'd be into that as well. Let's
Liam Neeson's like, I don't think I approve of what you've been doing out here. And then Nick Cage is like, I'm sexing all the women and having fun. This is great. This is the only thing you should do as a Jedi.
Well, let me see. Yeah. I had something and then it left me.
Oh man, there's a lot of interesting takes. Like not Nick Cage. I was about to say Nick Cage again. Keanu Reeves. Who does he play in Star Wars? Do you have my spice? I'm here for
Oh my god.
I'm here for
Okay.
spice. Where's my credits?
For anyone who has read the Darth Bane books, we do Ryan Reynolds as Valentine Farfalla. And Hugh Jackman would be General Hoth, and their interactions together would be similar, but they would hate each other so much in the best way.
Cesar says the only thing in my mind when I saw Ryan Gosling was he's Kyle Katarn for sure. You know,
yeah, that actually fits oddly well. Fit.
But in the same respect, in terms of the scoundrel smuggler type of typecast, or not typecast, archetype, I can see him playing a Dash as well.
Yeah. You know what's messing with my head? Was that I recently watched Fall Guy.
It's a good movie. I enjoyed it.
It is a good movie, but like, I'm just picturing that character where he's like, I'm a space cowboy. Like, I'm just picturing. I realize that I'm stuck on that image, because that is just kind of his image, you know, especially like him in Drive specifically.
I got to work on a Ryan Gosling impression. I want to see Keanu play a surfer type dude again. Silver Surfer. The new Fantastic Four comes out and he visits. Hi, guys. I'm Norrin Rad. I'm the Silver Surfer. Who would you cast Bill Skarsgård? Oh, I thought you meant when you said, I read Stellan, or I thought Stellan. I was like, he's already Luthen. Bill Skarsgård. I don't know.
I went Steve Buscemi in Star Wars, maybe a trader on the black market. With the type of actor Steve Buscemi is, you know they would make him an alien. He'd be like an alien merchant or something like that on the planet.
Random actor, who would you cast Don Cheadle?
Revan. Sorry. Everyone is Revan. No, Don Cheadle has that. He has the posture. He has the regalness. He would definitely represent a planet. You know, he'd be someone that you deal with in the Senate.
Yeah. Bill could be a young Palps. Nope. I personally don't think so. Just don't see it.
X-Core Gamers Chris says, make Starkiller canon. I feel like I'm just not interested in Starkiller at all in any way. That was a joke. No, that's fine. I get that.
You know what? You know what? Based on the original concepts that you showed me, Denai Guerrera as Nihilus. Origin story.
I'd be into that. It would make all the chuds mad too.
Exactly.
Which would make me happy.
We got to purposefully do this stuff now. Because now that they're deep throating it, we just got to shove it in more.
Yeah, we just let's see here. Sami Zayn. Dave Bautista as Darth Sion. Listen, anyone who could play Darth Sion.
Yeah, anybody could in makeup. Who would you cast Sami Zayn in? So, basically, I would put Sheamus, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns, Jimmy, all the Uso brothers in a faction called the Usos.
After playing Cyberpunk, I can see Keanu being a member of Saw Gerrera's partisans. Put a blaster in your mouth.
So Dave Bautista is Darth Sion, though. Anyway, we're losing
I mean, when
the plot.
when you read Rebel Rising, man, Saw's partisans, they were hardcore. They did some nasty work, and I could definitely see him inside of their compound. But they would just mow people down just to make a scene.
random one now. Who would you cast? Remember Richard Armitage as a Jedi Master?
I don't know who that is.
Richard Armitage from man. I know he was in Robin Hood. Richard Armitage. He was the voice of Wolverine in the Long Night audio drama. He's Thor and Oakenshield, yes. But you haven't seen The Hobbit, have you? The Hobbit movies.
I have not. I've read The Hobbit, the book. KG says, I still can't forgive Saw for getting Tech killed. Did Saw get him killed? I don't know.
They all knew what they were signing up for.
They're just two separate teams running separate missions at the same place.
I feel like that's a Crosshair quote. We all knew what we were signing up for. Okay, so after all this time, I do believe that there exists potential for Sean Levy to do a movie after The Rise of Skywalker, because that is still a timeline that is unbound from lore. There's no existing characters that you have to kind of... Well, there are, but like you could just write a new story with new characters in that timeline.
Yeah, and one of the things that the Old Republic books, specifically the ones that came out alongside, SWTOR the game, and they did this for game purposes, where they included a character from each class. But it gave those books like a sort of a balance that I enjoyed, and so like more than anything else, I want a book, or I want a film or a TV series like that. But here's what you do: you bring back the primary cast from all of the Marvel Netflix shows, and set them up in each of those archetypes, and then have them run a galactic heist. That's what you do.
I like it. I like it a lot. And a timeline that is years overdue. I agree. I think we should have been developing movies and shows after Rise of Skywalker for a long time. So, it is way overdue. Who does Eugene Levy play in Star Wars? That's the real question. He'd probably play like a
Yoda's master.
Which is canonically Encada del Gormo now. Now, the origin is still Legends, but the name has been canonized.
I just picture like a master that has Eugene Levy's personality.
What mean you by this, master? And then you have Eugene's like, I don't even have an impression, but it's like, this is how you do it. Like, this is like, this is how I'm gonna teach you, Yoda. Like,
listen, I want a Yoda origin story. So Yoda is not like, I feel like people paint Yoda as being strict or straight-laced, and he's certainly not. But I would love something that gives him an origin where he is, but he is that because he thinks that's what he is supposed to be. And then he has this master played by Eugene Levy that is like, like X-Force says, the original troll. But everything that he says like works out in the end, in the long run. And he realizes like, oh, okay, so I actually can't control anything. And so being this strict and straight-laced and being rigid, like, I'm going to break if I continue to be this. And then he reverts to his natural state as like a silly jokester.
I would actually like for Encada to be the master that is a huge jokester like X-Core says, the original troll, but I want it all to inform what Yoda seriously follows in the future.
Yeah.
So like there's this one scene where Yoda's like, give it a try, I will. And then Encanto's like, try? There's no try, just do it. This is like, you know, he's like making a joke about it. And then like, you know, hundreds of years in the future, do or do not. There is no try. And then another scene where Yoda's like, I had a dream, I did, master, of the future. And Encanto was like, listen. Everything's always moving. Like, you can't try to decipher what these things are. They're just dreams in your, you know, when you're having, you know, bedtime. And then he's like, always in motion is the future. Everything that's a joke to Encanto turns into profound sage words by Yoda in the future. I think that would be hilarious to see play out.
Yeah, like there's a big conflict that Yoda foresees, and then he does everything to like prevent it from happening, and ends up causing it to happen. And his master was warning him the whole time that like that's what was going to happen.
You know, Yoda, they say things are always moving. We'll just have to see when we get there. Mourn my loss. I do. And then Encanto goes, they're part of the Force. Forget about it. So what you're saying is rejoice. And whatever makes you happy. Now I'm just describing Eugene Levy as Yariel Poof. Good flavor.
I mean, we do need more Yariel Poof for sure.
Yeah. Rowan Atkinson as Yoda's master. Remind me who that is.
Mr. Bean.
Oh. I mean, he wouldn't say much. All right. What else we got?
I mean, I don't got much.
Yeah, it's pretty slow news week. The biggest news being Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy's project in Star Wars. Is Mr. Bean big in the U.S.? I mean, I enjoyed
Mr. Bean is big in my heart.
I enjoyed his shows, you know, growing up. I had a good laugh because, you know, physical comedy was a large part of my humor.
His physical comedy was great. I watched Mr. Bean stuff myself. I can't say that everyone did, but like my friend group did. Also, he was a big part of Rat Race, which was a great movie. I remember laughing quite a bit.
I'd like to see more live-action bounty hunters. Baylor Valance is reappearing soon in comics. Who plays Baylor Valance?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Just, I don't trust in the Force. Did we get new casting for Balin? That was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about that a bit last week and the week before. You know, he's a hound chomping at the bit. But yeah, I'm happy.
We could revisit it with the context that we didn't really discuss the implications of it, right? In so choosing a replacement, there lies implication that they are exploring or continuing to explore Balin's story. Whether or not that intersects widely with the Star Wars universe, or if it intersects with Ahsoka Season 2, remains to be seen. But thinking about that now brings me back to, what was Balin searching for, and what was calling to him.
And what did he believe would be capable of breaking the cycle, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
These are the questions. I don't know. I want to know. I wish I knew.
I mean, I'm always going to posit that it takes him to a Revan holocron. Now, in that case,
is there going to be a Revan? Would there be a Revan holocron on Peridia?
Who knows? His search for the star maps, his search for the Star Forge could have brought him to, not that would be, one-to-one in canon, but we don't know his story in canon, so whether it's one-to-one from his Legends counterpart or if it's something completely new, Revan could be on Peridia.
Yeah.
But I imagine if he finds a Revan holocron, it's still within the purview of not giving us Revan. Like if he watches a holocron message and it's from the back and all you see is like his robes and he's like, "My name is Revan. I am here searching for the Starforge." I don't know why I'm giving him a Thor accent. I tried to go for the head, but I couldn't, which led me to Drummond Cass, in which my mind was fried.
Yeah, he got brain blasted. That's true.
I feel like it was some sort of nexus in the Force, overdone, yes. Perhaps a holocron, something that could break a cycle, something eternal. One thing's for sure, I am not a fan of the what's her face theories. I keep on thinking of Nebula. What the fuck is her name again? Is it? Are you losing it too?
I've lost it. It starts with an A.
Abeloth. I hate those theories. Maybe it was different order of Force users, neither Jedi nor Sith. Maybe.
Yeah, and so like we can even go talk about the Zepho, or maybe that origin place was the Rakata, part of the Rakatan Empire. There's a lot of things that we could do,
especially since that is canon now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I shivered within when Luthen was like, this
Sky Kyber.
Sky Signet or whatever signifies the defense against the Rakatan invaders. I'm like, oh god, that's such a drop, and I didn't expect it in Andor of all things. Caesar says Revan is already canon, right? I think he was one of the Sith squads in Rise of Skywalker. He was.
Yes.
He wasn't one of the Sith squads. The squad was named after him.
Was named after him, but we also got his name dropped in Shadow of the Sith as well.
Yeah. So we definitely needs to break the barrier in terms of larger media. Possibly a name drop in Ahsoka. We'll see. Connor says, hear me out. Again, he wants to know how the Force is created so he can learn to manipulate it to the way he likes. Are you talking about Balin?
So the thing I got from Balin specifically was not that he wanted to control. He didn't want to control. He didn't want to rule. He doesn't consider himself to be a villain or bad or even good, and for that matter. I think he considers this as just something that must be done. Like he's the weary soldier who's just gonna burn it all to the ground because he thinks the galaxy would just be safer that way.
Yeah.
And we're here for it.
Blue Eagle says, Episode 1 stars Balin in a tomb. There's a coffin and a person watching over it. Enter Servant 1. Valkorian. For the love of God, give me Valkorian. Listen, give me a character named Valkorian but don't give me Valkorion. I really don't. If you give me Valkorion 1-to-1, that breaks lore tremendously.
I mean, Valkorion is arguably the biggest Mary Sue in Star Wars.
And he solved immortality before everyone else. I liked having immortality, at least in the times before we got Clone Wars with, Qui-Gon and stuff. I liked having immortality as this kind of nebulous thing that the Sith
always wanted but
always
could never
wanted.
achieve, and yeah.
I've always wondered, is the Force a representation of time? No, the Force is a representation of energy. It cannot be created. It cannot be destroyed. It's always flowing through things. At least in Star Wars, your body disappears if you give yourself to it, and then it becomes more energy. But realistically, just like the cycle of life, death, decay, you die and your energy goes back into the ground, and it serves as food for the living, and then just cycles back in, feeds the Force. It's all energy. The energy surrounds us.
Although I will say I'm actually partially in agreement with that, at least with what I want from the Force. So if you look at physical reality, right? It's in 3 dimensions, right? You have X, Y, and Z axis, right? If you do that on the cosmic scale, and you have time, space, and the Force as its 3 axes, I think you could do something really special with that. And I mean, honestly, that is how I believe it works. That's why I believe, if you are like straight up, when you're jumping through hyperspace, I believe your ship is partially using the Force's energy. That's what makes it special. But,
and that goes into the whole thing of the energy of the universe.
Yeah.
Right? Because even manipulating time, even something as grand as the world between worlds would require energy. Massive amounts of it. And, nexuses or vergences in the Force is a condensation of and concentration of energy. Connor says, Choco, now you are speaking my language. I like the mystery of not knowing much about the Force. We still don't know much. Like in the grand, compared to the grand scheme, compared to the totality of what could be known, we still don't know much. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson who said in one of his Star Talks, when someone was like, you think you know everything about the cosmos, and Neil's like, compared to what is knowable, we barely know anything at all, right? Because the concept of what is knowable, whether it's the cosmos, the universe, or all knowledge of all time, there's no upper ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, our own oceans are largely unknowable. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot out there, y'all.
We do know being frozen in the Force does still age you. I mean, it's not being frozen at that point. You're just kind of in stasis. But when you're carbonized, like
frozen,
Kix, it didn't age him. Pepper, are you saying the limit does not exist? I am.
The Purgle would support the idea of the Force being a part of hyperspace travel. Yeah, I think that that's also why
it does not exist. Sorry.
That's also why the world between worlds serves as a nexus, not only between points in space, but also points in time, and it can only be accessed through the Force. somewhere in the center of all that is Mortis.
I know enough to understand that I know very little. It's a good quote. To hold eternity in the palm of your hand. We gotta talk about this more. I found my Star Wars niche. Philosophy? Mysticism? I mean, that's my bread and butter, man. Just talking about, like, this is how we've run the gamut on what the Force is, how it works, what balance truly means. You know, when you stop at balance, equal parts Jedi and Sith, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice with, you know, not exploring the deeper deeper and broader kind of implications of what the Force is, how people use it, how it informs life, how it informs death. Which is why, much to my chagrin, I don't particularly like Freddie Prinze Jr.'s rant on the Force. I like that he said there's no such thing as great Jedi. But I don't like how he says the Force dictates who wins. No, it doesn't. Because that removes personal agency. And it removes will.
Well, I mean, I think, because I agree. I dislike that portion of what he's saying, but I actually think it lends itself more to this is how the Force works as a narrative tool within the storytelling that is Star Wars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not so much within the universe.
Because within the universe, let me know if I'm incorrect, but I think we both understand the Force to be something that wills itself upon its agents. And it is within the agents of the Force to bring about that will.
Yeah,
it doesn't control people, and it doesn't control the universe, right? Someone could hear the will of the Force and be like, it needs to come back into balance. There's a disturbance, and the dark side is pervasive. That agent can fail in their mission.
I mean, that's one of the first things that George Lucas says is, you know, you have a destiny, but you have to choose to do it. And so, yeah, it's like, it's like a fate buff on a character. So someone like Chirrut Imwe, you know, when he walks over to do the thing he needed to on the Death Star, you know, that was showing us that, not on the Death Star, but you know what I mean, in order to get the plans out. That was exactly what was needed to happen in that moment to prevent essentially the end of the galaxy. But if he had failed, the Force would essentially elect another avatar in order to help push it forward. And that kind of goes into something that, you know, Luke had as a thought, you know, for The Last Jedi, that he wanted the light to rise from a more worthy source, which is why he took himself out of the equation. Like, yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I see the Force as a plant that is always growing towards the light. And if you put something in the way, it'll grow around it. Is it sentient? Is it doing it on purpose? No. That's not going to talk to you, but it will always try to, A, survive, and B, go towards the light.
No matter the obstacle, though, it may take longer, but it'll eventually reach it.
Yes.
Caesar
if someone
says
fails, it finds the next one.
The world between worlds kind of breaks all the old lore, because if the ancient Sith or Jedi were so powerful, how come only now Ahsoka, Ezra, and Anakin are using it? Palpatine knew about it but couldn't reach it. So we don't have any old lore of the ancient Sith or the Jedi.
Also, the old Sith and Jedi weren't more powerful.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And I know it sounds weird because of how they're portrayed in video games and such, but they were actually weaker. Like, Palpatine is a beast with the Force. It's like it was just getting stronger over time. The World Between Worlds. Also, I also just, in general, very much dislike that as an argument of, oh, why didn't other people do that in the past? I feel like it's, I don't know. If you're a basketball fan, there's a lot of three-pointers now. But the three-point line's been there. Why didn't they just all shoot all threes in the past? And you're like, because they just didn't. Like, that's a valid reason. They just didn't.
Also, we don't know if they never did. Because the gate to the World Between Worlds was through a mortise mural on the Temple of Lothal. So how do we know that the ancient Jedi and Sith, particularly the tenants of the let's say the Temple on Lothal, did not have access to it, or did not at some point learn about this gateway and shut it off, or shut out the knowledge of it? Just like how the Chronicles of Bruce Boo and the ancient technique of mending was lost for over 2,000 years. There's a lot of ancient Jedi texts that were also lost for thousands of years, and so we can infer that some of this knowledge has been lost, some of this knowledge has been hidden away on purpose, or maybe at some point some the Jedi found it and thought that this power was not to be trifled with.
One of the things I really loved in the MCU was in the first Captain America movie, you had Red Skull, find the Tesseract, because it was this legendary artifact that this group had been hiding for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And no one knew what it was or what it did, and it was just descendants after descendants after descendants keeping it safe. And I could very easily see something like that happening in Star Wars. Obviously, people knew about the World Between Worlds, but in order to, someone built the gateway to get there. But even then, that gateway is destroyed. I think it would be something that truly only the Jedi would be able to access. At least naturally, and they would do anything in their power to protect that knowledge.
Matt Boy says, people always like to point to beings like Nihilus being so powerful when he was a one-trick pony. That one trick was super powerful, but future Sith like Palpatine or Vader were so much more capable. His one trick was just a Force drain, and his one feat was on an unsuspecting planet. And it was being amped by the fact that the wound that he was hungered. But you take someone like Darth Nihilus and you put him up against Yoda, Mace Windu, any of the contemporary Jedi, or even the Sith, contemporary Sith, they wouldn't even bat an eyelash at that trick. I would argue Darth Bane is more powerful than Nihilus. Just base stats.
Yeah. First of all, Bane is just a crazy powerful dude. Like, take the Force out of it.
Do you think the Force is always expanding, or like in Marvel, it's like a Mobius strip? I don't know. So the Mobius strip was just a model of how to travel through time. That's not how Marvel is as a universe. It's a multiverse. The closest example we have is Loki with the branching timelines. That's not a Mobius strip. But if we're going to use modern day physics laws on something far away, perhaps, yeah. Let's listen to this. because of the expansion of the universe, everything that we see, everything we experience today happened already. So, frankly, Star Wars being in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago is just it's just now. But it you know, it took time for it to get to us and consume it. Are you saying Bane rolled all sixes?
I'm saying Bane's beast.
Maybe he rolled all sixes, but he's not rolling nat 20s in most of his encounters. I particularly like to point to his first fight against whatever his name is. The
Zabrak.
Yeah. What was his name?
Timothy.
Yeah. I always saw the Sith triumvirate as representations of humanity, human despair. Like, imagine you're about to die from hunger, and that feeling changes you into a world-eating Sith Lord. The Sith triumvirate or nihilists? Because they weren't all draining planets.
No, he was just giving that as an example. But like, you know, you have Scion, which would just be someone's will not to die.
Yeah, Phineas says Maul is more powerful than Nihilist. True. Because we have to think about like the characterization of the Sith and Jedi back then is within the context of war, within the context of constant strife. But then we think about our contemporary Jedi and Sith. It contains all of the knowledge of the past and all of the progress of time.
Yeah. So here's the way I look at it is like, when you watch the 2D animated Clone Wars and see how powerful Mace Windu is, but then you watch the films and you see how powerful he is. One of them is like a story being told, and the other one is like him. That's kind of how I see the Old Republic. Is the imaginations, the retellings are these big bombastic things, but like, if you think about it, Anakin had the most midichlorians of anyone they had ever seen before. You know, he had just boundless potential. And in his upper limit, it's still dwarfed by Starkiller. You know? So, like, Starkiller actually wasn't that powerful. Actually, I think Starkiller is probably the best example of it. You play the game, Force Unleashed, you read the book, and find out what his real power level was, and it is not the same.
Yeah, but the Jedi in the game were all powerful, as said by Traya, but they couldn't get near Nihilus. He lost because he tried to feed off an exile who was a wound in the Force. So, I forget what Chris Avallone, the writer of KOTOR 2, said. But he said that Nihilus was not particularly powerful. And the fact that they couldn't
Nihilus
get
just
near
put
Nihilus is,
all of his stats in that one ability.
yeah. If you put Nihilus against a powerful Jedi, that powerful Jedi could know not how to deal with Nihilus. You put him against a Jedi who is a scholar that knows everything about Force Drain, and they will easily Protego that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to beat him in the game. True, the Jedi of the prequels, for all their faults, still had more wisdom on the whole than the Old Republic Jedi Order. Some similar mistakes leading to their respective purges aside.
I mean, I'd argue is because of it, right? I think they were more powerful, quote unquote, than ever before, which led to the most confidence that what they were doing is right or that they were infallible.
Which is why, on the whole, like wholesale, I'm not a huge fan of Drew Karpyshyn's characterization of the Jedi, because it really does turn a monastic order in the prequels into a sprawling warrior faction, like giving them, a whole, like, yes, the Jedi Sith War happened and war did happen, but like it's kind of the prequels before the prequels. You just have a whole bunch of Jedi generals and stuff.
And that's the weird part, is because it makes it seem like the whole galaxy largely didn't change at all. Yeah. Over 3,000 years. You know what I mean? Did Jedi do language lessons at the temple? Yeah, absolutely. So, like, that's another thing I do find it weird, is like people think Luke learned how to be a Jedi in very little time. So did Leia, so did Rey. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't take a lot of time to learn what you don't know, and how to practice to become proficient in things. And then you'll take those lessons from there. Just like if you were learning how to play guitar, you could take guitar lessons for 1 year, and then using what you learned in those lessons, continue to do everything on your own and practice and whatnot. The Jedi weren't training for a long time, but it wasn't just all force training. They learned diplomacy, they learned language, they learned art, they learned history, they learned all sorts of things. Like, the main reason their training took so long is because they went into the order as younglings. They just had to take that long. Like, it's not that the training takes this long, it's that they brought them in as younglings. But they wouldn't be ready to go out until, they finish adolescence.
Connor said a long time ago, I want to address it really quick. I'm writing a lot in my journal right now. So the reason there's balance is because something in the beginning caused this balance. So we reach...
The Force is balance.
So we reach the argument of... what do we like to say? The Cologne cosmological argument. We're assuming that there was a beginning. We're assuming that there was an initial cause, but the Force was always for lack of any kind of explicit explanation of it. That's how the game leads you to think. Treya did say that Darth Nihilus was a dead path into the dark side, and his teachings mustn't be allowed to survive. Still, if he was weak, how come he rules Malachor 5? So, being a dead path into the dark side does not mean he is all powerful or very, very powerful. The fact that he was a wound in the Force and always hungered, he was kind of a avatar of the dark side to begin with, because the dark side hungers and feeds. With no quarter either. No discretion, indiscriminately as well.
Also, we have to remember that the more he fed, technically the hungrier he got, and the weaker he got as well.
Still, if he was weak, how come he rules Malachor 5? Who wants to rule it in contention? It's shattered. What we call a shattered throne. So it's like saying there is an island in the middle of the Pacific, has no resources. There's little value in trade and economics. But there's a guy there who claims he's the king of the island. If he's so weak, how come he rules that island?
Yeah, I don't know this, Sean, because I don't understand the question. I don't.
Well, I'm making the contention that it doesn't matter if he rules Malachor 5. It doesn't say anything about his power.
Yeah. It doesn't.
It was a bitch to beat in hard difficulty, because that's a game, and it's a hard difficulty, and it's a preponderance on...
Still the easiest of the three to fight.
Yeah.
Or weakest of the three. But even then, like most of his lore, all of his lore only comes from the game. There's just a lot of outside the game that is just assumed of his character. That's not actually a thing.
Did the Force create the Star Wars galaxy? Again, that is presupposing that the Star Wars galaxy wasn't always there. Again,
I mean, I like
creation.
Kind of like how I said, you know, it's time, space, and the Force. I think you can also kind of replace that with life, or the concept of life, as being what the Force is, because none of the stuff without life is in any way, shape, or form measurable, discernible, or a thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just wanted to add that.
I see the Force as a constant. And, well, the creator of the Star Wars galaxy is George Lucas. Since the Force still works on Peridia in the other galaxy, the Force is not restricted to the galaxy far, far away. I think they're both far, far away galaxies. But we have to realize that every story that starts in the galaxy we know, it starts in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. But when we get to Peridia, we don't get that opening crawl. Or that opening message.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cheesy if we did, though. It's like, as soon as they get to Peridia, in another galaxy far, far away. Every galaxy is far, far away. Anything in the knowable universe and galaxies that we see, the billions of galaxies out there, they're all very far.
Yeah, and like when it comes to Peridia, I mean, my hope for it is that it was just a place where civilization formed earlier, you know, and life in Peridia just evolved differently along a different path. You know what I mean? Like here in our world, you know, there'll be two technologies that are at odds with one another, and then one might be marketed better than the other one. You know, you could have an alternate universe where nuclear energy won out and people weren't afraid of it like we are here, and they would have different technology available to them, and they would have, you know, or maybe it would have all came crashing down. You know, but that's what I want to see from Peridia, is people who took a different path towards their understanding of the Force and just used it in different ways. They used different terms of it, and eventually came over here, or came over into the Star Wars universe. And when they shared that knowledge, you know, I mean, I'd love if that was what created the schism in the first place. We could get a story where the original Sith were Jedi, the first Jedi who came in contact with the witches from Peridia.
Yeah, it goes along with my general theory about life in the universe as we know it. Some might say that we haven't found other life. Some might say we are alone in the universe. I don't think that is the case. And until we become starfaring people, until we achieve interstellar travel, we won't know that. Because like the brightest star we can see in our sky is light years, thousands of light years away. And if you think about how much time it would take to get there, in real time, there's surely another planet out there in another galaxy within our real life that has life, but they do not have interstellar travel like us. They can probably see our planet, but we don't have the technology. Like we talk about like receiving like bursts of radio waves and communication from time to time. Like, who's to say that the technology on another planet thousands of light years away would be sending the same signals as we receive, that we scan for? Who's to say that life is also made from carbon-based elements? This, one of the things that I like to talk about in philosophy and in cosmology is when people say they're searching for intelligent life, and I'm like, wait, you're just searching for life that's like us, carbon-based life. But there could be life out there that's not carbon-based, that is completely different, that is... Let's just imagine there's other humans on another planet, like thousands of light years away. Think, breathe, move like us, but they're completely based on gold. I don't know. Something that doesn't make sense in our science books.
I mean, my wild theory is that there's a planet out there that is run entirely by like cephalopods. Just like, because when they look at cephalopods, in our universe or in our world, they're like, they don't share any DNA with us. Like, we don't even know what these things are or where they came from, but they're really smart, and it's kind of creepy. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Just like you said earlier, we still have yet to explore the deepest reaches of our ocean.
You also have to consider the Fermi complex as well.
What's that?
The Fermi complex is basically a study of the gates that it would take in order to make contact with another world. So you'd have the planet has to have living creatures on it, right? Those creatures have to create civilization. That civilization has to advance long enough without killing itself to become a space, faring, and then it has to be able to, live out. Basically, it's comparing. How do I explain it?
We need stargates. Essentially, the level of technology and progress has to match across galaxies. There's no telling what oceans could produce in other worlds, things we could not even imagine. Hell, there's no telling what our oceans can produce. I saw a video of some surveyors. They were studying the water underneath glaciers, like miles underneath glaciers, where no life could exist. It is absolute zero, but things are thriving down there. So even within our own Earth, even within like the reaches of the ocean, there could be things that just defy how we perceive life to thrive.
Also, watch Pantheon.
Let me, yeah, we'll kind of wrap up this episode of Dyad and the Force with a broad question for everyone in the chat. Suppose the technology exists for your consciousness to live in the cloud on the internet, where you could perceive things, you could be as you were, only digitally. Would you upload yourself? And would you consider yourself alive? I timed that with the music. The Force will be free, Baron Pullen style and Tempest Breaker. Oh, have you listened to?
Nope.
Dang, man, I'm gonna keep telling you this for the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's not going to take me 3 years. I can guarantee you that.
But say no more, James Kenobi. Oh, KG's got that thinking face. Element Philosophical Pep 7, you are good with this. I mean, everything that I am is informed by everything that I consume, and Pantheon is the basis of that question. Pantheon and Zegapane, which we have to finish at some point. Just what Star Wars needs. Hollywood movie stars. The point of Star Wars is not the stars in them, but the amazing story being told. A so-called movie star takes that away and deludes. Dustin, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and steelman that argument. Are you familiar with Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson, Ewan McGregor, Harrison Ford? Now, I know Star Wars has a propensity to use relative unknowns as protagonists, but we got some stars in Star Wars, you know? Let's not pretend that Star Wars was completely devoid of movie stars.
I mean, like, Alec Guinness was like
The star.
a top tier. Like there's quite a few very famous people, but then you also had people like Carrie Fisher, who was Hollywood royalty, and while she wasn't famous for acting,
Christopher Lee, yeah, Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Although there's a universe somewhere where Tupac didn't die and he was Miss Windu, and I'm
That's the same questions as to whether or not Neuromancer AI backups are alive. That's different. And I would have to ask you to watch Pantheon to truly understand where the question is coming from contextually. KG says, I'd likely upload. Me too, yeah.
beam me up, Scotty.
Alec Guinness was huge before Star Wars. Where can I watch Pantheon? It's on Netflix now, and then the second season is on YouTube. The ones they call Flatlines. Flatliners? No, but there's a difference, X-Core. I would encourage you to just watch Pantheon to understand what we're talking about. Not in the same context as Neuromancer AI. But yeah, anybody else have an answer to that question? Would you upload if your consciousness could survive in the digital world? What one character from Apex Legends could be great in Star Wars? Wraith? Do I still have to go to work? No.
I mean, yes, but it wouldn't be very inconvenient. You could pretty much make a duplicate of yourself and then have them work, but then they might get mad. I don't know. There's a lot.
Anything you can do digitally, you could probably you know, you don't have those limits. You could partition yourself, like Choco said, and have that copy of you go to work for you, or as a consequence of uploading, you just do work in a split second, and you just what you do digitally will have done like a full day's work in reality, with the computing power you have digitally in like a matter of petaseconds or something. I don't know, picoseconds. I think I would consider my digital consciousness alive, but it wouldn't be me anymore. It would be a new version of me and have their own experiences separate from the organic me. That's very interesting, Matt Boy.
Also, as far as putting an Apex Legends character in Star Wars, there's actually a lot that would be really interesting to have. It's a difficult question. I could see someone like Valkyrie being like in an ex-Mando that is just a bounty hunter doing their thing. I could definitely see Seer as a character as well. Yeah, I mean for sure. But all in all, if I had to only choose one, I'd probably go with what's his name, Crypto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Crypto is
Slicer.
He's a slicer with the katana who, you know, the only thing is his drone would actually be a droid that would, you know, communicate with him all the time.
And there's
that would just
Lifeline.
be a really, really interesting character.
And there's Lifeline, who's a New Republic medic who uses Doc as Doc's a droid, her droid.
Yeah. And in the same vein of Alphabet Squadron, you could make Doc out of a former like torture droid, but now he like shoots people up with Bacta.
You know what that reminded me of? Those sections where Quell is going through therapy. The initial questioning in Mandalorian, where we see in the New Republic that they're being psychologically evaluated.
Yeah, I mean it's largely is the same thing.
If I can have a robot body as cool as Ultron, then sure. I mean, if the technology exists that you could upload, surely the technology exists where you could be downloaded into a body as well.
And so that is the Apex Legends story I want to tell in Star Wars is essentially
Ash?
Robots gaining sentience. And so you would have a faction that all splintered off from like a singular factory and its designs, and it having its own like the story that I'm telling in my head is there's a large centralized computer that is similar to the Overseer that we just saw, right? Big giant astromech head. It's stuck in this location, but it is constantly iterating and changing on droids in its existence, and through it we get the creation of Ash, Revenant, and Pathfinder. And basically these droids are starting to gain sentience, right? Ash thinks it's an actual person. The other two know that they're droids, but one hates humanity. And after seeing everything humanity has done, it grows to hate it. And then you have Pathfinder, who actually goes and warns the good guys that this whole thing is happening, and so they have to track down and fight the other two. That's what I want. That's my Apex story in Star Wars.
I heard Ryan Gosling is playing the real Kyle Katarn in Sean Levy's Star Wars movie. How's it going, Jacob? Could be. What the story is, we'd have to kind of finagle a bit to fit into canon, because we have a large part of Carl Katarn. We have a large part of Kyle Katarn's story already done in Rogue One, so we'd have to kind of repurpose it somehow.
Yeah, I don't know what's meant by the real Kyle Katarn, but I do love the character Kyle Katarn, and I think he would look the part and do a great job at it. There's nothing confirmed at all, though. And again, his desire to tell a story that's disconnected from everything else leans it away from that casting, but I would enjoy it if that was it.
You can imagine a robot to do all your work. Yeah, you could just, like we said, you could partition yourself into into entities and instances of yourself to do it all. Kind of like Naruto. You could just put your copies to work and then reabsorb them later and see, oh, this is what I did. Gotcha. Mirage would be cool. All of the Apex Legends could actually be in Star Wars and inhabit different genres of storytelling. Coral. I think Rick Winter would be a cool Kyle Katarn. They might be referring to Finn being a Kyle Katarn-like character in canon. Wow. Maybe I'm just watching too much The Rookie. Gibraltar would be a great rebel. He would be a great partisan, only because I want him butting heads with Guerrilla all the time. Just do what I said. And Gibraltar, hey, listen, man. Hey, try and stop me.
I mean, Newcastle would be the Republic guy.
But that'll do it for this episode of Dying in the Forest, episode 203. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this week's episode and for chatting and hanging out with us. Slow news week for Star Wars.
But we still like hanging out with y'all.
Yes. We'll talk about anything. We'll talk about philosophy, cosmology, and all of the things with you guys as you search for the meaning of life and the secrets of the universe in this episode of Star Talk. No, I'm just kidding. Choco, any final thoughts? Any final words?
In these crazy times, don't lose hope. Just don't lose hope. I know things are getting real. Hold fast hope.
I mean, you wake up in the last 2 weeks and you think, how could the Empire or the First Order come back? Well, you know, people are stupid.
Listen, we're living in the final days of Revenge of the Sith, so we still have the whole original trilogy to get through.
As Phineas says, great stream, thanks, and have a great weekend, everyone. That's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all digital consciousness.
And may Sabe, played by Keira Knightley, be in your dreams. Good luck.